Hi there. Welcome to the fourth installment of Bright Ideas. Today I'm joined by Jonathon Kemnitzer from KEM Studio in Kansas City. Jonathon, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Adam?
I'm doing well. How are things in Kansas City?
It's rather hot outside right now, so it's toasty.
Yeah, we've been in the midst of a heat wave here too. I think tomorrow's 96.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
funny because obviously 96 is hot for me too. But the people in San Diego, like, they lose their minds. Um,
yeah,
and I think to some extent it's justified because so many houses don't have either good or working HVAC. Um, so 96 is a little different when you don't have air conditioning.
yeah.
But
96 is hot no matter what. So yeah,
exactly.
I'm ready for
Um,
fall.
yeah, I bet. Um, so I would like to start maybe by you telling us a little bit about what your firm does, KEM Studio.
Sure. So Chem Studio is an architecture and industrial design firm. My business partner Brad Satterwhite and I started it in 2004. So this November we will be 16 years doing what we do, and we started it 16 years ago as an idea to basically fuse the two together. So it's not siloed. It's about how we can improve and make people's lives better in all aspects of design, no matter if it's the things that they're interacting with, the places that they're in, or the things that they're equal with. Like the chairs we're sitting on it is a good example of something that we're equal with. It's we have an equal relationship to it. It's supporting us, and we're sitting on it. It's comfortable.
I need a new office chair. Do you have one you want to sell me?
We have plenty of office chairs, but I could give you a list of ones I would recommend for sure.
Awesome. No, I was on my second chair. They start leaking these metal BBs that are these roller parts. So it's time for a new chair. I'm just sitting on a solid chair now. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Not as great, especially as much time as I spend here in front of the computer. But
exactly.
it's really hard to get an office chair right now. So I think the next thing that I like to talk about as we've gone through these is how we kind of met. So your old office was downstairs from a client that we got referred from a gentleman named Tony Sheets. I talked about him during the first week. I'm sure he'll
Yep.
be joining us on a future call here. But long story short, Tony's a Google Suite consultant these
Yep.
days. I think he used to kind of handle a little bit more IT work. Um, but as he looked to kind of head out of that, he handed off your downstairs or upstairs neighbor at the time. And that's how we ended up meeting one another. That was probably what, three or 4 years ago. I have
That's
to go back and
that's
look.
right. And
But
I think so. Tony was doing that for us as well too. So I think that happened at the same time. I think we equally interviewed you probably within an hour of each other. I think you probably saw us and went upstairs, or saw them and went downstairs. So yeah,
yeah, so our interactions together are they kind of come in spurts. So we'll help KEM Studio when you guys have new computers, if there's networking problems. But this year, one of the big projects ended up being in March. Once the stay-at-home orders were issued, KEM Studio, obviously you guys had your storage there in the office, but their offices are in the West Bottoms, for anybody who doesn't know, and the connectivity options in the West Bottoms are somewhat limited. So one of the urgent matters we handled this year was moving your storage to our office where we could leverage the Google Fiber and VPN, and it wasn't a perfect solution. I don't know that there is one, but
right.
it definitely got you guys able to work again. We're still kind of working through with all of our architecture-based firms on what the best either multi-office or multi-location solutions are. It's kind of a tough nut to crack if you have a budget, which everyone does.
Right.
Um, there are these Windows virtual desktop options that exist now, where you can actually do all the computing in the cloud, even the GPU rendering. But your average cost per user is $200 to $300 a month to
Yep.
host that. And
Yep.
so, as you guys are fully aware, and those who are watching may not be, it's architecture is kind of a unique animal in that you can't, especially when it comes to Autodesk's Revit product, you can't really just store those files anywhere. They have to be stored in a traditional environment or in Autodesk's cloud. Those are really your only options if you want to collaborate on a project.
That is true. Yeah, because you know we have multiple people working on multiple files at the same time, and so that's what has to happen. But yeah, you know, honestly, I felt like we were pretty prepared for something like this, and I think probably compared to most people, we were in a good situation. But moving our server to your office at the beginning of it was very helpful, because the speeds on our end are good from a download, but not necessarily an upload. So, which is usually not necessarily a problem for us, but
yeah, not unless you got 15 people outside the office or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. One of the things that I know is we could kind of tell the difference with how we had prepared amongst our clients, just because a firm like yours, obviously, we had to address the speed issue, but there wasn't a lot. We weren't getting flooded with tickets from your users because you had already requested when you bought a batch of new computers, especially, to have all of this ready to go. So that was a kind of a nice situation for you guys. A lot of our companies, we had to work with every single user to get them to the point where they could function from home. So definitely better in your case to have been prepared. On your guys' side, I guess, are you all back in the office now, or partially? How are you guys handling that?
So we have indefinitely given everybody the option to do what they feel most comfortable with, and I think that's the best way. Today, obviously, I'm working from home, but I'm going in about 4 days a week, and it kind of just depends on everybody. Mainly, everybody's back in the office for the most part, but I think people have found that sometimes working at home is a little bit better, depending on what you're doing. And so for me right now, when I'm having a whole bunch of meetings with clients and stuff, it's easier for me to just have these calls at home than being in the office just right now. Just because some of the other procedures that we have in the office about keeping it clean and wearing the mask and all of that. So it's been good, you know, out of, you know, being away and then coming back, you know, as far as the way we work, maybe I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but it's just on top of my mind, so I'm gonna talk about it. You know, I think that, like I said, we were in a pretty good spot, but I think part of it was also of how we collaborated with our clients before, because a lot of our clients, most of our architecture clients, most of them are here in Kansas City, but pretty much all of our industrial design clients are not in Kansas City. And so, you know, we're used to collaborating with them in a digital world all the time, whether it's this or it's sharing files, you know, we're used to it. So I think that the transition to collaborating with each other was pretty easy for the most part, but we found some things that I thought were really pretty nice. You speak of Tony Sheets, and like there's something that we were looking for, and we found it like right there within that Google network, which was the Jamboard. I don't know if you're familiar with the Jamboard, but we always wanted this like digital whiteboard, and that was a tool that we were able to use. And if you haven't used it, or if you don't know about it, you got to look it up, because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of development in that space. I was talking about this, I don't remember if it was the last one of these I did or the one before, but there's a product, a LinkedIn connection of mine did a demo of with me that's very similar, but it kind of takes that, because those digitized whiteboards have been around now for 15 years or more. But this one, they're trying to get it down to the point where people could actually, you could have it at your house. Like everyone would have one. And when you have a meeting, it's all synced up. So whoever's at the board, they're writing, but everybody that's connected sees the same thing. And it's pretty sweet. Is that how your usage works, basically?
That's how the Jamboard does work. Yeah. So it's pretty great. You know, you could use it on your laptop. We also use it with our iPads, but you can post pictures to it. You can draw over the pictures. There's a laser pointer on it. There's Post-it notes that you can add to it, and you can color code the Post-it notes. And so it's been a way for us to continue to collaborate in a very visual way, even while we've been apart. And so me being at home today, we are using that as well too. And then obviously Slack is something that we've been kind of kicking the tires a little bit with before, but since this happened, we're 100% behind Slack now. And
yeah, it's funny because we're a Microsoft partner, and I know Teams has made a lot of really good strides in their meeting platform. I think in certain areas now they're the leader on, especially the video side.
Yeah.
But for an office collaboration tool, we've never adopted it internally. We've certainly helped clients do that. For me, and I feel like you'll appreciate this considering how important aesthetics are to you. Have you looked at Microsoft Teams at all for any reason? Have you had clients have a meeting in there or anything?
No, I haven't.
So the thing that aggravates me the most is you have your screen, much like Slack, you have your channels and chats and all that, but there is so much wasted screen real estate that it drives me crazy. They have everything in bubbles, and then there might be 6 inches of blank space on the right, and the conversation keeps word wrapping all the way over to the left. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. But we're Slack users too. We actually went to a paid account a few years ago so we could have the unlimited history, which I use all the time.
Same here. Yep.
If there's something, like if somebody shared a file 3 years ago and we remember what we were talking about, we can find it in a matter of minutes, sometimes even seconds. But I was actually thinking about this last night. When people talk, I was reading some articles about how culture, everybody's saying, work from home's here, it's here to stay. And I think that's true, but there are all these articles have a big but, and they're like the culture suffering, and so on. I think the interesting thing from Firefly standpoint, and I think I might actually record a meeting with our team at some point to discuss this in more depth, but a big part of our culture and interaction was shifted to Slack like 5 years ago. And so it started because we had a full-blown office in St. Joe at that time, and we felt like there was this disconnect between the two offices. And so we started looking for a tool to solve that. And so we started using Slack, and now we've got it pretty fully fleshed out now. We've got channels for everything you could possibly need. It connects to a lot of other services. We generally have our team meetings on there every week. We have threads for different groups, different projects, but maybe it's my perspective having been in California away from everybody for 1.5 years at this point, but it really does seem like it's kind of bridged the gap that would have normally existed during a time like this, and made it not feel any different as how we're working together as a team. So on the flip side of that, have there been some things that you just can't find a solution for, that you kind of just have to get back into the office together, or is there generally a workaround for most things in your experience?
I think we found a workaround for most of the stuff that we've had. Honestly, I think, and we were talking about this the other day, the biggest thing is just trying to find a provider that will come down to, the Stockyards district or West Bottoms that can get that upload speed that we're interested in. So I think that obviously that's going to happen. Things are changing down there daily in a good way, and that'll happen. But I think really, if we had that, we'd be sitting pretty good at this point. I mean, we were all laptop based before, you mentioned that as well. And I kind of feel like we were in a good spot. I think the thing for us is, you talked about working from home and it's here to stay. And I think it is. And I think, but I think in maybe a little bit more of a healthy way than necessarily, hey, I'm going to 100% work from home. I think kind of like right now, I am at home. Today made a lot of sense for me to be at home. I think it's going to be more in a quality of life sort of way. But I think everybody's still going to be able to get together and work together in a physical space, hopefully somewhat soon. Because nothing will ever replace actually being together.
It's Slack, I think, closes a lot of those loops. We're not in as creative a field as yours, so I think some of the incidental collaboration that happens is probably hard to duplicate unless you're just on a Zoom call all day, which no one wants to do. But no, it's that's interesting. So from like a business standpoint in your various sectors, have you has the business been pretty steady? Or,
We feel we
what's
feel
the,
really lucky. I mean, nothing's really changed. We don't lose any projects. We've gained projects. We've hired people during this time, so we can consider ourselves very fortunate and lucky.
that's awesome.
It'll be interesting to see. Like I feel good that projects are still out there and we're still bidding on them and all that stuff. I'm really interested to see like what 6 months from now looks like. That's where I'm kind of at.
Yeah.
So what will that look
Yeah,
like?
no, we're at the mercy of our clients in this regard, you being one of them. And so for us, it's kind of like, we feel like you take your position and then add one more layer in between you and the situation. And that's us. So
Yep.
When March came at first, we have a lot of architectural clients.
Mm-hmm.
When I actually added up the revenue, it wasn't as big of a revenue proportion as I thought it was, which made me feel a little bit better. But when the situation started to become clear, I panicked a little bit, just because you think to yourself, okay, we're clearly heading toward a recession, and there's going to be a pullback in spending across basically every category. That's going to have to translate in problems for architecture. And to your point, so far, I mean, across all of our clients, it really hasn't. I mean, there's been some adjustments made. It kind of depends what sectors people work in and those types of things. But
For sure. Yep.
I agree. I think 6 months from now is going to be the real test. We're doing everything at Firefly we can to just be conservative, to try to, if clients have the money to invest in technology now, let's do it. Let's prepare for when the chance might not be there. And
right.
But when Evan Fox and I were talking the other day, we kind of just agreed at the end that the only approach that really makes sense right now is to look at what the decisions and the things that you can influence. There's just too much you can't control. And I spent, I think, a few months trying to sort of wrangle it as best I could, and finally just let go. And you make plans with the information you have. And I mean, at Firefly, we're trying to keep everybody safe, even though they're in and out of offices. And so it's definitely an interesting time, but I'm happy to be working in technology for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think you guys did a really good job of managing that with people going in and out of offices too. And yeah, I mean, that was definitely appreciated on our end.
Yeah. Well, and I think the struggle can be, luckily this hasn't been a situation for us, but with the whole like mask wearing becoming a political issue, don't really want to dive into that necessarily, but the fact remains that it's become a political issue. I think the thing that I've appreciated is, even amongst clients who maybe feel differently than I do, thus far, there's still been a healthy level of respect for our safety measures, which I think is, we're not all going to agree. It's never been the case. It never will be. But a healthy level of mutual respect goes a long way. So
absolutely. I mean, that's, it seems very simple, that you want to take care of other people, but sometimes it gets a little cloudy.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. It's been good catching up, and
absolutely.
maybe we'll have to circle back in 6 months and we'll see how things look.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. Let's hope that they remain good. So there we go. Cool.
All right.
Well, thanks for all your help on everything. Yep.
Absolutely. Talk soon.
All right. Okay.